In this video, we'll be showing you how to assemble the B2X300's build plate. Here are the parts we'll be using for this first step. Notice there's a left and right side to the bracket, but that's for later on. Insert the bearings into the printed pieces, then use the U-clamps, washers and nuts to fasten them onto the metal bracket. We recommend fastening the nuts evenly, so one side of the U-clamp isn't more done up than the other. It's very important not to over-tighten them, since that will hamper the build plate's ability to slide along the linear guides. Don't forget to screw the belt holder into the centre. The linear guides you'll be using are the shortest of the three pairs. All you need to do is slot them into the bearings and make sure they slide freely. If they don't, the U-clamps may be too tight. If so, adjust the nuts on the ends of each U-clamp until you have freely sliding guides. You'll be slotting on guide supports on each end of each linear guide. Notice the direction the tightening bolts are facing. This is to make them easier to access once this assembly is on the frame. Don't tighten the bolts yet, since the supports will have to be adjusted once they're screwed onto the frame. Fit the guides into place and line up the orifices of the supports with the ones on the structure. Make sure the L and R on the central bracket are on the respective left and right of the frame when looking at it from the front. Apply the screws, nuts and washers and tighten them fully. Then tighten the bolts on the guide supports. Push the build plate along the guides to make sure it slides properly. We've provided a single coil of drive belt. For the Y-axis, you'll need to cut around 80 cm or 32 inches. The remainder is longer and will go on to the X-axis later. Loop the belt around the pulley on the Y-axis motor and the one on the opposite side of the frame. Pull both ends tightly into the belt holder in the centre of the build plate bracket, then do up the screw to hold the belt in place. Remember leaving those Y-axis screws undone? Well, just push the Y-axis motor backwards to stretch the belt, then fasten those screws tightly. Not too tightly though, since the aluminium thread inside the motors can be damaged by over-tightening. When applying the heated bed, be sure it's facing the right way, with the cable coming out towards the back. Apply the bolts on each corner, then sandwich a spring around each bolt between the bed and the bracket. Fasten them up with washers and nuts, allowing the bolt's shaft to poke out around 1 mm on each corner. Only the glass is missing, but that comes at the end. The build plate is otherwise ready.